Coach Jackson here with another episode of Client Success Stories. I'm joined by Scott, the newest member of the Action Jackson Fitness Hall of Fame, because Scott lost 25 pounds, over 10% body fat, 3.5 inches off his waist, and gained 9.75 pounds of pure muscle in just 16 weeks. Incredible job, Scott. Welcome to the program. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Jackson. So, as you said, my name's Scott. I just turned 53, so you can do it at any age, obviously. I live in Atlanta. I work from a desk. As you can tell, I've got a setup, which obviously is one of the challenges you run into in life. As you kind of move and get further up in your career, you get a little stationary. I've got a wife and a teenage daughter that keep me going, and yeah, so that's about it.
Fantastic. Quick point there is, as you mentioned, being a little bit more sedentary when you get the desk job. And a lot of people think, oh, as I get older, my metabolism has just gone down. And it does a little bit, but not as much as people think. Really, it's just being a lot more sedentary. When you're a kid, as you know, having a teenager, they're running around all the time, busy, active, doing things, playing sports, sprinting, constantly playing sports, doing things. And as we get older and older, we just stop doing those things. We spend more time here in front of our computers and at our desks and a lot less time being active. And even if, obviously, like you do, even if you work out hard for 45 minutes, 60 minutes a day, it's still actually not that active because it's just one, small block of time and you're still not getting in tons of steps and other things. So just wanted to point that out. But, obviously, over 50 years old, you made an incredible transformation. A lot of people think, gosh, I'm 40, I'm 45, maybe I'm 50. And here you are at 53, completely blowing away all stereotypes and really just limiting beliefs. How did you manage that? Like from a mindset and a mental standpoint, did you think it was over for you? Did you think you could do this? I guess, how did you get that kind of mindset?
Well, it's a great question because I really think that you end up in a point as you get older, you start to feel things decrease. You start to feel pain, all of those different things. And you start to realize I can't move the way I used to. I'm not as balanced as I used to be. You start to lose, especially again, as life has changed, as you talked about. A lot of people work from home now that didn't used to. You used to at least go into an office that got you some mobility. So that's even been worse. And you kind of have to make a decision at some point. Am I going to continue to let myself deteriorate? Is that what's okay with me? Or do I want to fight back against that? And I decided I wanted to fight back. And, it's been an amazing journey. Kind of to your point, I was 50 years old. I was heavy. My balance was out. And now, I'm wearing belts that I haven't worn since I was in my 30s. That's a huge, change for most folks in their life. So yeah, it was really a decision. It's a conscious decision and a commitment to yourself. As I told a friend of mine, I invest in a lot of things in my life, whether it's my daughter, my wife, savings, my career. I realized I needed to invest in myself too. And that's really what it was, time and effort and money when it came to it.
I love that mindset. First thing I'll mention is that my good friend Tony Horton always likes to say, and I love this saying, and I always credit him when I use it, is aging is for those that aren't willing to put in the work to slow it down. Of course, we can't stop it completely, but if you put in the hard work and you combine that with a good strategy, you can absolutely slow it down as much as possible. And sometimes it even feels a little bit like you are reversing it. Like in your case, when you lose the weight, when you cut down the body fat, when you build the muscle, you take the inches off, all of a sudden it feels like you got a new lease on life. And wow, I feel so much better than I did previously. It feels like you're moving back in time, which is great. It's almost like jumping in the DeLorean with Marty McFly and Doc. Like it feels like you're going back, which is great. But the next point you mentioned is investing in yourself, in your health, and in your fitness. And so many people are scared to do this. And I just feel really grateful that one of the lessons I learned very early in life was that I'm going to be the best investment that I ever make. Now, of course, I'm married. My priorities have, of course, shifted. I pay a lot of money for life insurance and other things that I never thought I would ever pay for. But over the course of my life, I've been by far the best investment. I've invested a tremendous amount in my education, my knowledge, and that has served me in huge dividends, massive dividends to be able to create this company, this business, help people like yourself, and it's still paying off. So I love that mentality. Now, was that something that switched for you? Was there a lesson that you learned? Like, I guess, how did you make that switch from previously maybe not investing in yourself as much to now making that big jump?
Well, everybody goes through their midlife crisis, right? And so when I turned 50, I kind of thought, well, where do I want to be? And I guess 50 is more of the midlife crisis age as opposed to 40 nowadays. And I tried to decide, you know, where am I at? What do I want to do? And so I came to my wife and I said, look, I'm not looking for a new girlfriend. I don't want a fast car. You know, I don't want this. I want to get this crazy piece of machinery that goes on the wall to help me work out. And I started doing that and I invested in it. I worked hard. But it got to the point that I was in better muscular shape, but I wasn't in better shape. And I think that was when you reached out to me, I had come to the decision in my mind. I'd worked at it for about a year and a half at that point, pretty steadily. I mean, and I realized that to get where I wanted to go, I was going to have to ask for help. And so that was really the second switch for me. So there was the first, I'm going to invest in myself. This is important. And then the next was, well, you can't just do a little bit. You've got to continue to invest in yourself to continue to go down that road. I want to be here for my daughter's wedding. I want to be here for her first child. I want to be here for as long as I can for my wife. And to do those things, I have to invest today.
Wow, that's really powerful. And I love how you link that from, yeah, I want to get healthy. I want to get fit for me. I want to invest in myself and try these things, getting the tonal, investing in coaching. But you link it to the long term and you link it also to other people because we'll work harder for others than we will for ourselves. And you said it right there. I want to be here for my daughter's wedding. I want to be here for as many years as I can. And I got chills when you said that because today is one day past the 3-year anniversary of my mom's passing. And I just think about the time that we didn't get to have together because she didn't take her health and her fitness as seriously as I wish she would have. And it just, it's very tragic. And it gives me chills to think that you are doing those things, that you are putting yourself in the best position possible. And of course, things happen. We don't know what's going to happen. We can't control everything, but we can put ourselves in the best position possible to have the best odds of success to be here for as long as we can. And you're doing that. And it's extremely noble. And I always like to tell people this, and I'll mention it here now. This journey is so much more important than you think it is because it's not just about you. It's about the other people. It's about the example you set. It's about your proximity to them. It's about being here for a long time, but also being active, being healthy enough to be able to go out and run around and do things with them. Because if you're too sedentary, if you're sick, if you're in pain, if you can't move, you're not going to be able to do those things. You're not going to be able to have those experiences. So gosh, that's so powerful. Thank you for sharing that and for being vulnerable and honest about that. Now, next thing I want to kind of ask is people always think, well, of course, it was easy for Scott, but, I have real problems here. I have challenges. I have this, I have that. What were some of the obstacles along the way that you faced? Because, of course, this wasn't a simple journey. It wasn't without its trials and tribulations. So what were some of the challenges?
Yeah. So a couple of things that, first of all, I'm 10% disabled veteran. So I've got a bad back, and when you go into resistance training, you know that you're going to put pressure on your back. But the great thing about it was I had learned that by actually doing the strength training, I was protecting my back more. I had a slightly torn rotator cuff about 6 months before I started this program. Again, it's one of those things, and you have the normal aches and pains. The other challenge, so that's the physical issues, right? And the physical challenges of if you're the first one in the family that decides you're going to change, your spouse wants to continue to eat the way they are. You have kids that can eat a ton of calories and may need to eat a ton of calories. How do you section off your food and have the strength of will to not eat what's not good for you, but is in the house because that's, you can't demand everybody change just because you want to change. So I think that was another thing that I had to deal with, and it really was just kind of a mindset and a focus on what is my plan for my nutrition. Go buy my food, have it set up and ready to eat, and make sure that you eat that, because if you eat that, then you're not, by the time you're done, you're not hungry for that other stuff. You're kind of like, okay, I'm good. I'm already full. Um, I think one of the other things is timing. I'm honestly, I will say I have a bit of a luxury of timing. I have one child. I don't have four children, so that's always a challenge with folks. But there are still demands, and you've got to. I always kind of hold it sacrosanct. I'm sorry. This is my workout time. This is when I'm working out today. Period. And it caused a rub once or twice, but most of the time it wasn't. And once my family saw how committed I was to it and that I showed up every day for it, then they kind of backed off because they knew it was important enough to me to go in there and get after it every day. So I think, whether you have to overcome some physical challenges, you have to overcome the social challenges in your family and with your friends. And I went to several dinner parties. I'm not drinking right now. Thank you very much, but no, I'm not having a drink. And then, the time challenges. I had multiple travels, as you and I've talked about, and figuring out how to fit that in kind of was a little challenging, but it was also kind of fun because when you're going to do it, you just do it, type of thing, and then you don't worry about
Wow. So long list right there of a lot of obstacles, and you overcame all of them. And you have to learn how to overcome these things, because a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to do this program. Let me clear my calendar. I'm not going to do anything, and I'm going to get in shape, and then I'll go back to my normal life. It's like, no, that's not how this works. You have to integrate it into your normal life. This has to become part of your lifestyle. And if it does, that's how it sticks forever. So that's really the main goal. And we love it when people have travel and other obstacles, so we can help coach them through it so that they know how to overcome that in the future. So let's go through the list and just like get a couple of like, whether it's tips or tricks for people out there, like how do you overcome this in their circumstances? So the pain, injuries, other issues, this is standard protocol, right? People get aches and pains, they get injuries from time to time. And having to overcome these things is not easy. How did you manage to overcome some of these challenges?
So there were a couple things. First of all, obviously, I let you all know, so you kind of tailored my program a little bit around those type of issues, focused on areas I need to strengthen so that I wouldn't have those pains as badly. I think that sometimes you have to know it's going to hurt a little bit, but what I realized after a period of time was some of those chronic pains I was having went away. And so, yeah, it hurt a little bit while I worked out, but after I was done working out, it didn't hurt like it did before. um, a lot of recovery type of tools, whether that's some type of massage gun or a roller or those kind of things help. And then finally, I had found a good massage therapist, and I, I can't suggest them enough. I know some people get uncomfortable with that, with having massages, but they are the best thing to keep your muscles moving and growing and loose.
Yeah, everyone thinks it's all about pushing yourself and going harder. And that's part of it. You have to put in the hard work to create the adaptation response in the body, but you need that in conjunction with the recovery. Because if you don't have the recovery piece, then you're not going to complete the circle and you're not going to get better and stronger. So you need to push yourself. That's half the equation. The other half is the recovery piece, getting adequate sleep, hydration, nutrition, and then sometimes massage, foam rolling, stretching, other recovery modalities to help your body get back to where it needs to be, coming back better, stronger. So that's really important. And I love what you mentioned there. Had some pain and some issues, but ironically, through working out, some of those things went away. Not all, of course, but some of them did improve and get better. And as you get stronger physically, as you move yourself, a lot of times those aches and pains will go away. I mean, people forget about this, but because they'll get injured and they think, oh, I got to not move or I got to rest. Even if they are just really sore from a workout, I better not do anything. But what happens when you go to physical therapy? The first thing they do is they move you. They put you through movement. I remember even my wife, when she tore her ACL, the doctor was like, well, ideally we'd go and have you do some physical therapy to loosen it up and get a lot of movement in even before surgery. And then immediately after surgery, they put your knee on this machine that starts to move it immediately to try to, keep the swelling and keep just the like tightening to keep that from happening. So movement is so key, and that's really important. Now let's go to the next thing, which is meals at home. So you mentioned, okay, meals at home, sometimes they can be a bit challenging. I have kids. They eat different foods sometimes. Well, how did you manage to just focus on what you needed to eat, what was going to be helpful for you and kind of keep you on track?
Well, and this is where I needed the most help. And this was one of the big reasons, ways that you all helped me was to help identify foods I should be eating, foods I shouldn't be eating, what my macros should be. And so and it really is, it's a mental commitment. This is what I'm going to eat. I'm not going to eat those other things. And you have to realize it's not that you'll never get to have those things again. You'll get to have them at some point, a taste of it or whatever it is. And I think once I kind of mentally flipped that switch, and I can't remember if it was you or something I read in our discussions, but the if you stop looking at it as a diet and what you're using to fuel your body to get the best out of it, it really does change how you look at the food you're eating. Am I eating foods that are good to fuel where I want to be, as opposed to what am I restricting from myself? And I think that helped me a lot. So it was just one of those things of just don't pay attention to those things. Don't look at those things. Just go, no, I'm sorry. And once you say your initial gut reaction has to be, no, I'm sorry. And then once you've said that, stick with it and go eat what you need to eat. Make sure you're filling yourself up on the things you want to, that you know you need to fill yourself up on.
Yeah, mindset is huge. It's so much more powerful and impactful than people think. In the psychology of nutrition and training and all these things, it's important. It matters. It does move the needle. So we try to focus on the psychology there, and instead of being on a restrictive diet, we try to think of how can we manage to add flexibility, variety, include some of your favorite foods, alcohol if that's something you want to include. How can we include some of these things in moderation, of course, so that you don't feel so restricted and that you can have some of those things, but also get to your goals as well. And when you have those things in moderation, you get the best of both worlds. You get to have them occasionally, which is fun and nice and great. I had a glass of wine last night. I had like 1.5 glasses, I believe. And it was great. And I woke up this morning without any pain or problems because I didn't have 3 or 4 glasses. I only had 1.5. So I got to enjoy the wine, but without the downside of it. And when you go overboard, which most people do, and I used to all the time as well, that's where you get the stick. That's where you get whacked with the stick and you get, oh, I don't feel so good. Now I don't want to work out. Now I'm bloated. Now the scale's up. But if you can have those things in moderation, which is what we try to teach you, then now you get the best of both worlds. Now, some people aren't so great at that. We try to obviously give you tools. We try to teach you how to do it. Some people just, it doesn't jive with them for whatever reason. And for those people, maybe they have to be more restrictive. But for most people, you can kind of learn how to adapt, how to adjust, have these things, kind of eating your cake and having it too. That's really the ideal place to get to where you can leverage moderation. So I love that. And I talked about this in a recent Mindset Monday post that I did, the power of forever, which is thinking like this is a lifestyle. This is something I want to do for myself for the long term, not this is just something for the next few months. And when it becomes a lifestyle and then part of your identity, wow, that's really powerful because now it's so much easier to stick to because it's who I am, it's what I do, and it's just how you live. That is easy, super easy to stick to. So I really love that mindset. The next thing is prioritizing your workouts. Now, this is important. And a lot of people struggle with this, especially a lot of the women who join our program because they get a little bit of that mom guilt. Oh, I can't work out if I'm doing something for myself and not doing something for my family or my kids, then I'm being selfish. And what a lot of those women in the program have learned, and they'll share that oftentimes on these success story interviews, which is by doing the workout, I'm getting myself better for my family. I'm able to show up with more energy, more confidence. I'm able to be a better mom or a better dad or, a better husband, wife, etc. Is that what you found? Has that been the same story for you as well?
Yeah, I think that I would definitely say that you're able to enjoy the time with your family more. I mean, I think if you're in pain or you don't want to go do something because you're being sedentary, then that comes out on them, and you feel guilty because you're taking this time away. But in reality, it's such a short amount of time that most family is not going to miss you, and you just have to decide when is the time that you're least needed, right? Mine happens to be in the evenings. A lot of people, it's in the mornings. They can get up, they go do it, and they're good to go. But I think it is definitely the I do it for me, but also so that I can be comfortable and there and strong. And, when my wife needs stuff carried out of the back of the car, I'm not groaning or grunting or going, I don't know how I'm going to get that out. I can go pick that up and carry it. Whether that was the 15 bags of mulch that she showed up with the other day that I just ran outside and threw around for her because that's what I could do.
Isn't that
So,
an awesome experience when you
yeah,
do something in real life like that, that you would have normally done and been like, oh, this is a pain in the butt, or this is hard. And then it's like easy. And you're like, whoa.
yep, absolutely. Absolutely. It's like, oh, I can do that now. Great.
Yeah. Whether it's walking up like a couple of flights of stairs or some friends you on a hike with, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, let's take the hard route. And then you're like, oh my gosh, wait, I don't know if I can do that. And then you're like, oh, that was actually easy for me. Or carrying stuff around, like it's just awesome. People are always like, oh, don't worry, don't carry that, I'll get it. It's like, well, no, I work out. Like, this is what I do it for. I might as well leverage these tools that I have, all this strength, and show off my skills. So that's fantastic. The other thing you mentioned is travel. Now, this throws a lot of people off. They get in a groove, they're doing their thing, they go on a trip, boom, it all goes to hell. How did you manage that?
So there were different types of travel, right? So some of them were short term because they were business travel and whatnot, and that was a lot of just planning. A lot of it was planning ahead, so controlling the meals I knew I could control. So I took whether it was protein shakes or whatnot, so I could make sure I could have breakfast in my room and took the accoutrement in the bag and whatnot. I made sure that I had protein bars and I had almonds. I had things that I could eat and snack on that were healthy so that I would limit the amount of things that maybe weren't good for me. And then when we had to go to dinners and, sometimes there weren't a lot of, I didn't really get a lot of choices. Just I ate the best I could. And kind of to your point earlier, this is forever. It's a lifestyle. So if I'm a little bit bad today, I'm going back to where I need to be tomorrow or in 2 days, and it'll all work itself back out. There's no reason to get completely freaked out. Just do the best I could, and that's really where I focus. Now I did have a long vacation weekend, and I didn't worry about it a whole lot, and I had a good time, and I gained a few pounds off of it. But you know what? I lost those pounds in about 2 to 3 weeks, and they was gone, and it was no big deal. And I think that again, when you change it, at kind of your point, if you change that mindset to this is forever, those type of things, or being bad for a day, or eating something you want, no longer is a big deal. You just don't, you're going to go back to your regular scheduled program for it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And a lot of people struggle because they want to be either on or they want to be off completely. And when it's a lifestyle, it's got to be a bit more of a gray area. There's going to be varying degrees of on and off. Sometimes it's really dialed in when you're at home, you're in a groove, things are happening, that's great. And sometimes you go on a trip or a vacation, it's your birthday, something, and you're going to get a little off track. But it's about making sure that you're navigating those areas somewhere in between in that gray area, and you're always kind of coming back to center. It's kind of like meditation. People think the goal of meditation is to completely clear your mind or something. It's not. The goal of meditation is to focus on a mantra. And when your intention wanes, you bring it back to the mantra. The mantra could be your breath. It could be an actual mantra, something that you say. It could be just a focus point. It could be something like feeling the air going in and out of your nostrils, something simple like that. But the goal of meditation is to bring constantly back to that mantra or that focus point. And that's exactly what we're doing with our diet is we're always bringing it back to a focus point. As long as you don't stray too far from the sort of fairway, if you will, or the road, then you're going to be just fine. A little off track today, not a big deal. You course correct tomorrow. but it's not a, oh, I'm going way off track, and since I'm off, I might as well go bananas and then I'll just fix it late. That just doesn't work. That's a really bad mindset to get into, and it's really difficult to dig out of. So what we want is, again, more moderation and less extremism. And when we do that, boy, that consistency adds up over time. And then day by day, week by week, month by month, you start seeing the changes and you go, wow, this works. And your taste buds start to change. Your habits start to change. Your identity starts to change. And that's when things get really interesting. And all of a sudden you go, wow, it worked. And I'm completely different than I used to be. So obviously I want to be respectful of your time, but a couple more questions. Just now that we covered the obstacles, any other insights, breakthroughs, things that you want to share for people at home that you think might be interesting or relevant?
So I'll share, and I kind of shared this in a chat with you. The thing, and you said it earlier, and I think when we originally talked about it, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, right, sure. The mindset piece, the change in your mindset is profound. If you follow a program, you follow this program, and you look at things differently. In fact, and it's constantly growing. I noticed that over the last just two workouts I've been doing, instead of thinking about the entire workout, I'm thinking about the set I'm doing right now and this rep, and how do I make this rep make me a little bit better. And when you get to the last set and you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be tough, but you're thinking, I got one more opportunity during this workout to try to be better. And I think when your mind changes like that, and you're like, I am an athlete, I do these things, and I just think it becomes extremely powerful. I mean, between the nutritional mind change, as well as the exercise mind change, as well as the way you see yourself and you expect others to see you, and the way you present yourself, it is a huge shift, probably more of a shift than anything else, because you start to want to look like what you see in your own mind, and it drives you.
Wow, that's really powerful. And just that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's just two little things he gave you right there. One being kind of chunking, which is just breaking things down. Not, oh my gosh, I got to do this whole workout, 45 minutes, all these sets and reps. No, let's just get into the warm up. Let me just do that. Let me focus on that first. I warmed up. I might as well get into the workout. First set, bench press. Okay, I could do one set of bench press. Warm up sets, easy. Great. Do that first set and just keep chunking down to the next thing. And you kind of almost trick yourself into then doing the entire journey. I tell this story. I was with my wife. We were in San Francisco once visiting some friends, and it was a couple block walk. I thought it was maybe 4 or 5 blocks. Turned out it was like 7 or 8 blocks. It was further than I thought. My wife was like, hey, let's take an Uber. And for whatever reason, there was a parade or something in town and Ubers were surging, and it was like $50 to get an Uber just a couple of blocks. So I was like, actually, let's just walk. And she's like, well, how far is it? I was like, it's just a couple blocks. And we walk like 2 or 3 blocks. And she goes, well, how much further? I go, I think it's like 1 more block. We walk 1 more block. She goes, how much further? I go, I think it's like 1 more block. Walk another block. How much further? You get the idea. We did that for like 4 blocks. And she's like, where are we going? And I go, the hotel's right there. And she's like, oh, okay, we're here. So it was like, that's the chunking mentality right there in action, where she didn't want to walk all the way. If I would have said it's 8 blocks, she would have said, no way. Honestly, if I would have looked and thought it's 8 blocks, I might have said the same thing. But by just chunking down and saying, okay, let's just get started. Let's walk a block. Let's just go 1 more block. Come on, we can go 1 more. We just walked a block. We could walk 1 more. And that's how we walk all 8 blocks. And it sounds simple. And you think, gosh, that's just some stupid example about you walking around in San Francisco. It's like, but no, you're missing the point, because you can do that in just about everything in your life, from your workouts to getting things done to me paying off $70,000 in credit card debt. How did I do it? The same exact way. It started with one $50 payment. It's only $50. It's not a big deal. But then you make another one, and you just keep doing that until next thing you know, you go, oh my gosh, I finished the workout. I lost the 25 pounds. I added the 9 pounds of muscle. Holy cow, I lost the 3 inches off my waist, or I paid off the $70,000 in debt. You do it one step at a time. And then the next thing you mentioned, which is thinking about things as an opportunity for success, as opposed to some chore or some sort of like penance or tax that you have to pay. It's not, gosh, I have to work out. This stinks. It's, damn, I get to work out. How many other people don't get to work out? And you mentioned, being a veteran, and I appreciate your service coming from a family, my dad, my uncles, my godfather, my grandfather all served in the military. So I appreciate your service. But how many people come back and they can't work out because of something that happened while they were gone? And we just get this like unbelievable, amazing opportunity every day. All my limbs work. I'm healthy. I'm fit. I wake up. I have the opportunity to work out. And again, when I think about like my mom not being here, I think about, people, my cousin, she has cancer. She's in the hospital right now. I think about things like that. And I think I have this freaking opportunity to go do this. How can I complain about that? How can I be pissed off or angry about the fact that I get to work out on this $4,000 piece of workout equipment in my amazing home gym? I mean, gosh, I should be so lucky. Like, how could I not give it my best? So, not to get too riled up, but that really just means a lot to me, and it's a really important lesson for people at home. So, thank you for sharing. Again, want to be respectful of your time. So, thank you so much. I just want to acknowledge you for trusting us, for investing in yourself, for putting in so much hard work. And I don't think of them as sacrifices, but I think other people would. You made a lot of sacrifices. You did a lot of things to get where you're at. You earned every bit of your success. And again, 25 pounds down, over 10% body fat, 3.5 inches off your waist, 9.75 pounds of lean mass added. I mean, the transformation is incredible. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you. And it means a lot to me that you're here doing this for us. So thank you.
No problem. Thank you. It's been a pivot in life. That's a great thing. So, and I appreciate the opportunity to get to learn from you all.
Well, you did a fantastic job. And as I mentioned, your journey is more important than you think. You've inspired a hell of a lot of people, not just in our community, not just in your family and surroundings and neighborhood and, coworkers and such, but now here, on the internet, you've inspired a lot of people that I know are going to follow along in your footsteps. So thank you. And really appreciate you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jackson.